But Nobbin, now you're here, we need to ask you, why did Pep get it so wrong yesterday? Why was there no intensity? Why were you not trying to win when you need that Champions League spot, brother? What was wrong with you yesterday?
I don't know. I can't answer why did Pep do what he did, because he does what he wants to do. He would have had a reason to do it, I'm sure. But it just, I've just like finished a video now. I've just been like trying to analyze the game like from a tactical lens, and just like everything that could have gone wrong did, in terms of like what Pep did. The lineup was confusing, but I let that go because it worked against Bournemouth. It's like, okay, fine, I'll reserve judgment. But then it was just so obvious so quickly, like from like the first 5 seconds in, when I was like, wait, why we? So City normally play a 4-4-2, yeah, off ball, and we played 4-3-3. You know, again in the derby yesterday. I can't remember the last time we actually did that. I think it's been years since we've done that. Certainly in a big game. Now, that means that that just played into United's natural width because they have a very wide system. So it meant that our widest central midfielders, Gundogan and Bernardo, had an impossible task to do. And so, I don't know why Pep did it. Again, he will have his reasons. I fundamentally disagree with it. I thought it was a bad system to choose. I thought it was a bad midfield three to select. I thought it was bad substitutions to make. And I think that everything that could have gone wrong, he did get wrong, to be honest with you. I can't and won't defend him. I think he got nearly everything wrong yesterday.
Nobbins,
why do you not play Nico Gonzalez?
That's another one. I don't know, mate. I don't know. That would have been the most obvious thing to do.
All season's a DM, and then in one of the biggest games you got left of the season, he just refuses to play the DM.
I don't know, because he started. I think he started every other Premier League game this season. I think.
Do you think he's panicking?
I don't know. I think that maybe, speaking of being gaslit, maybe he was gaslit by the Bournemouth performance when we did play all the older players. And he was like, right, these lads have still got something for me here. I'm going to throw them in. I'm sort of half joking, but I actually don't know, because that performance against Bournemouth was really good by, De Bruyne, Kova, Gundo, Bernardo. They did play well that day.
But Bournemouth have actually been off the boil a little bit, haven't they, recently as well? If you actually look at their performances, and that's not taking nothing away from you.
No, of course.
It isn't the Bournemouth of 2 months ago.
Yeah. So I don't have the answer to your question, Tom, because all City fans have been asking that as well. When the lineup came out, was why isn't Nico starting? And then again, you can go, right, he didn't start against Bournemouth. We played well, okay, but then why didn't he come on at halftime or at the 60th minute, or when United were starting to, like certainly the last 20, 30 minutes when it was only United who looked like scoring a goal? Why didn't Nico come on? I don't know. I don't have an answer.
It's actually quite sad watching De Bruyne now as well. Like I know that he's announced he's going, but from what he was just like a couple of seasons ago, those 2 hamstring injuries back to back in the Champions League final and in the first game of the next season against Burnley, they killed him.
Yeah. Well, he sacrificed his body so we could win the treble, basically, because he picked up that hamstring injury in like the Bayern Munich quarterfinal, I think. But then he carried on and played through it, and then ultimately it fell off entirely in Istanbul. And yeah, you're right. Unless he gets like a full week's rest isn't enough. Like it was a really energetic performance against Bournemouth. He didn't feature against Leicester, had the whole week, and he still looked shattered. It's sad that he's leaving, but I think it's clear that sadly, he just can't physically do it anymore, and that comes in his shots as well. Sorry, Terry.
It's no, it is. Like, if I take the Man United hat off, it's sad to see when top. I mean, I've been called out for my list of ranking the midfielders. I have him as number 2 in overall central midfielders in Premier League history. And Potsy actually called me out on it, and I thought the most sensible way. He was like, I wouldn't have DMs, CMs, and attacking midfielders in the same list. And I'm like, no, you're right. If I just did attacking midfielders in the EPL history, KDB's number 1 for me. So it is sad to see players like the drop. At the same time, the United fan in me is like, it really makes me appreciate Ryan Giggs and Paul Scholes, who went on into their late 30s and 40s, just from not even a dig perspective, just how the fuck did they do it? Maldini's, and how the hell did they do it? When you see Gerrard got to about 33 and his body went, no more. Do you know what I mean? And it's
you know what's sadder to see?
Modric, look at Modric at his age. It's crazy when they. I think as well. It's the different positions, but yeah, it's crazy.
De Bruyne, in fairness, I think he would have been able to do that because he does have because I think it was can't remember if it was like last year or maybe the year. It was basically before the hamstring injury. We were talking about, or like people on my chat were talking about, you know, how much longer can De Bruyne stay at City for? And at the time, I was going, well, you know, back in his heyday, you know, in like the late 90s, Paul Scholes was not this sort of deep lying playmaker that we now really know him as. He was a much more dynamic sort of player, like what De Bruyne was then. So I proposed, and similar thing to a lesser extent with Pirlo. So my thought was, well, as he ages, he's not really going to lose his passing ability. Drop him slightly deeper and protect him like a Pirlo or a Scholes. But the sad reality is that he doesn't really have he can't generate the power to make those passes, to hit those passes anymore, and to take those shots anymore, because athletically he's just cooked. And he's leaving this season. It's probably the correct.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, it's Mina obviously got a lot of stick when she suggested that he could go to Saudi, and it's still real bozos. Like, well, she said he's going Saudi. There's no guarantee of that. How was she right? She's more just giving an example of where he could go. But I think a lot of people could see at the end of last season, like KDB just wasn't the same player anymore, and it's always better to go out as a hero than it is to stay too long and drag a team down. And
if we can win him the FA Cup, then
it goes out on
be
a high. Yeah.
But what's
Why
sad
are
for me
people
to
mad
see
about that Saudi prediction? Because that's generally where washed players go, right? You get a big fat paycheck, and he's gonna probably end up with Ronaldo, and he'll probably do really well in that league. I don't really see what this or
nobody
there's
retires
links to
at
San Diego.
There's links to
San Diego FC right here, like in America.
Do you know what it is to me though? I'll be honest with you, Will.
Big clubs are looking at him.
I know you don't like the honor and respect part of sport. I feel like when someone's a legend like KDB, I don't even like the term wash being used near him. Like, genuinely, for me, it's I
hear it. I'm with you, Terry.
It's one of these ones where there's certain players across my rivals as well. I just don't think they should ever be called like Usain Bolt as a sprinter. There was a time where he wasn't the same guy. Oh, he's washed now. It's like, how fucking dare you talk about it? You ever seen that scene where Harry Potter? You see when Harry Potter? You know when Harry Potter stands there and says to Snape, "How dare you stood where he did?" I feel like that. It's that moment of how dare you use that word next to it. Certain athletes, I think they should be given dignity in those moments, if that makes sense.
But Terry, do you know what's really upsetting to me? Like, and I'm sure KDB's going through it too. Is the kid that he's passing the keys to the city to is not ready. He's not ready to take.
How the fuck is it every stream an Arsenal fan brings up Phil Foden? Every single stream without fail.
Ready to take the keys, bro.
He's not going to be the guy they're passing it on to.
If there was ever a game where I thought he'd be ready to step up, it's the Manchester.
There's a German at Bayer Leverkusen.
Where was Philip yesterday?
He's going to be like glue.
Where was Philip?
Guardiola. I'm going to go get my popcorn.
Saka's back. You can stop talking about Foden.
Brother, you've won the league. This doesn't concern you, bro.
4 months straight of Foden talk from Arsenal fans.
Can I ask you a question, Nobbins? I know you've defended Foden a lot this year. We all saw that he was poor yesterday, right? But on a real one, do you think he's gonna get back to his very best for City, or are you and or other City fans starting to worry about the longer term future of Phil Foden?
I'd be worried if it was a season where everyone else was like firing and playing well, but our player of the year is a player who for 2 months was letting in a goal every other game due to a defensive error. That's Guardiola, by the way. That's our player of the season. That's the standard that we're talking about. So I'm not too concerned with a drop in form for a season after 5 or 6 years of being a good player. If it happens again next season, then I would be concerned. But the context of the season, the context of what we all know he is as a player, in the same way, I'm not really concerned about Guardiola, making errors this season, so long as it doesn't happen next season as well.
Yeah. And just to point this out to you, so I want to say very quickly. So Staffy said last night on the match reaction that Pep is at the beginning of being washed, and it's like the beginning of the end for Pep. I just want to point out that Staffy said that.
Oh, I'm gonna have words. It's too early to say that. I'm going to reserve judgment until Pep is given a like again. There's no excuse not playing Nico, but again, there's still the midfield does need to be rebuilt. Let's reserve again. I'm going to reserve judgment until the summer window. We'll see what fresh blood comes in, and then we'll see what happens. If he doesn't challenge for the title, and in my view, probably should win the title next season, then yeah, I will be concerned. And maybe I'll
third with an FA Cup in his worst season in the Prem.
But that just shows the quality of how it's been this season.
Yeah,
or he didn't be finishing that high.
Or conversely, we get knocked out by Forest and finish 6th. It's very fine margins.
I'm praying on that because that's great for the legacy debate. That's great for the Fergie Pep legacy debate.
Chill.
Can you be washed if you won a treble 2 years ago? I don't get. Can you be washed if you won a treble 2 years ago?
Staffy says, wow, snitch.
But Nobbins, do you think that Pep Guardiola is a bit of an overrated manager?
Sorry, just very quickly, Staffy, you said it in front of 4,500 people watching the show. Just want to point that out.
Yeah, but I wasn't one of those 4,500. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, very well. Like Nobbins, quick question, bro. Like, do you think that Pep is a little bit just overrated, just like in general, in terms of like not being able to like adopt when there's some controversy that's going on?
You can never ask
like
City
kind of like
question,
always
bro.
meeting.
Waste of a question, bro.
Well,
you can.
Well, no. But I'm asking it because, like, how City have been struggling this season, right? They've spent all that money in January. It's still not getting better, right? And then you're probably going to go drop, like, another 200 million. I feel like that kind of does take away from him, like, as a manager, like, when you think about it. Because it's like, not everybody's as fortunate to have as much money as he's had. But it seems like the only way for him to be competitive is if he drops, like, few hundred million like every summer or something.
Terry, I clocked it. I was trying to figure out what's going on with this situation, but Pep was once at Barcelona, right?
Yeah.
So I was wondering what Will is always
with what I'm saying.
It's really funny here. Hang on. Do you know what's really funny? What I'm seeing with Kunle and with Will here, it's the Spider-Man meme. You only bring up Foden to boost up Saka. We see you there. It's like Hassam only ever slags off Scholes because he's got to keep Gerrard number one. And of course, this question about Pep being overrated.
To be fair though, Terry, did I not say on this channel?
He's actually having a bad season.
By the way, Terry, did I not say on this channel a few months ago that I would take Pep at Madrid? I said
you did. And I think what's really interesting for me, I will go.
You don't like Carlo Ancelotti.
You take who's your most successful manager ever, by the way.
So you take a wash manager at Madrid.
Yeah, no, I feel like this thing here. I feel like this thing with Pep is. I think the question about him being overrated, I think it can only be applied, Nobbins, in the context of nitpicking between the goats, if that makes sense. In terms of the next few years is going to show it. Like, if you don't get the recruitment right, can he get you back to purring? I suppose that's maybe a little bit of a concern because. If you get the recruitment right and he has because a lot of the accusations are unless he has the exact right team and fit and players, he can't make his teams purr to the highest level. And I suppose the next couple of seasons is going to be a little bit of a test for that, is it not?
But isn't that what we've seen this season? Rodri goes down and now it's like it's just over.
But it's one year, isn't it? It's 1 year.
Yeah. Well, no.
Yeah,
what I'm saying from this year.
I think that I don't like the idea that, there's got to be a perfect squad, otherwise you can't get a tune out of them because we didn't have a striker for a couple of years and we won the league. So I don't know how we haven't had a proper left back.
A year, relax. It's a year.
It was 2. We haven't had an actual left back in, a millennia.
That's how little he likes Gabriel Jesus, by the way. Jesus was at the football club both of them years.
Yeah, exactly.
He was on the right wing. He was on the right wing.
Yeah. So this season again. For me, there have been tactical issues and Pep hasn't been good enough at times and I have criticised him accordingly. I thought last season there were tactical issues and I thought we were fortunate to win the league. I've touched on that before and I criticised him then, but you win the league, so you sort of forget about it. I think it's far too early to be introducing the overrated word. I think we need to chill on that. Look, if it happens next season after he brings in a lot of very good players and it's still the same issues, then I think we can have that conversation.
If you guys drop 300 million this summer and this time next year you're in a similar position, similar amount of losses, that conversation is going to be coming thick and fast, right? You need to get prepared for that. You need to be getting the research ready and everything.
Yes.
'cause I've been doing that today. The next time Sam tries to slag off Paul Scholes, I've been going back to the 90s finding articles. He tried to make some accusation to because he made an accusation today that in the 90s no one cared about him, and I actually read some really great stuff about him today that I never even thought of. But anyway, I guess because when you're like 8 years old, you're not reading The Guardian, are you? Well, maybe Nobbins was. He's quite posh, but there we go.